Hi, Jacqueline Foster here. So excited to be back. And this week, what I'd like to share is around the idea of living our experiences more symbolically as opposed to taking them literally, and how that can help to really diffuse some of the emotional charge and the emotional attachment that comes up with different experiences. So this week, what I'd like to share is just one tip that you can really take in and implement into your life in order to make your experiences more enjoyable, but also the way that you can use symbolism more in a more practical way, because we all use symbols and metaphors so much more than we think we do. And this is not a new idea. Joseph Campbell, he does a lot on mythology and symbolism, and Tony Robbins and Caroline Myss have also been a couple people that recently I've been getting more and more ideas about how to incorporate this into my life. So again, today I'm just going to share one idea, one tip with you that you can really implement into your own life today, and I would love to hear how that works for you. So what I'm going to share is, imagine, right, a situation we'll use, for example, when you're at your job, when you're at your work, and perhaps there's a situation, there's a person, there's something that continues to happen that is driving you nuts. There we go, right? Metaphor right there, it's driving you nuts. But something that's upsetting for you. And I want you to, in the next time you're in that situation, to ask yourself, what does this feel like? Okay, does that feel like hell? Does it feel like a walk in the park? Does it feel like you've been put in a jail? And asking yourself what that means symbolically will give you the opportunity to take some of that emotional attachment out and to look at the situation more objectively. Because imagine if I say to myself, oh my gosh, well, what does this feel like? This feels like I'm in jail. Whoa, okay, that's what does that mean for me? Does that mean that I feel trapped? Does that mean what's happening here? But if I don't do that and I just say, oh, this person pisses me off, they always do this, this is driving me nuts, I'm going to just stay in this place of getting more and more angry, and it's just going to be this continual place where I'm going to feel this emotional attachment and this emotional drain. So what we want to do is be able to pull our energy into the present, to be able to look objectively at what's happening, and then from that information be able to empower ourselves forward in making different decisions in the future, right? So if I tell myself that this situation, it feels like I'm in jail, and I want to be able to transform that, right? For me, I don't have a positive perception around feeling like I'm in jail. I don't want to feel like that, right? So what I want to do is ask myself, where do I feel that in my body? What in this situation, in this interaction, is making me feel like I'm in jail? And what would I like to feel instead? And knowing what I'd like to feel instead, what would need to change in order to feel like that? So there's a series of questions that you can begin to ask yourself just from sparking this one question or this one reflection on how can I see this situation symbolically. And I always notice that when I talk to myself differently, I feel this amazing weight off my shoulders and just kind of like more of a sense of ease and calm in my body. So as you're doing this, when the next time you're in a situation where you're frustrated, you're angry, you're sad, ask yourself, what does this feel like? And allow yourself to finish the sentence. You probably do it a lot more than you even realize. I know I did and do it a lot more than I even realized. But as you can ask yourself that, become present. Allow yourself to be aware of how that's feeling in your body. And if you do have a notebook with you, jot down a couple of reflections so that when you do have more time and you're maybe not in the heat of that situation, you can continue to ask those questions that that I had mentioned earlier, where, okay, this feels like a walk in the park. Okay, how does that feel in my body? Do I want this to feel like a walk in the park? Do I want this to feel like something else? And then in reflecting and finding out what specific things are coming up for you with that, asking yourself, okay, now what do I want it to feel like? How do I want to feel in these situations? And what would have to change in order for me to feel different in these situations? You can see that those questions create a very different tone than the questions around, oh, why did they do that? What's wrong with them? Right? There's a very different energy there. So I hope this has been helpful. I really highly recommend that the next time you're in a situation, as we mentioned, where you're frustrated, you're sad, something's going on, you're feeling the emotional charge, step back, ask yourself, what does this feel like? Okay, and allow yourself to get a bit objective about what's going on. And then when you can, if it's not in that moment, jot it down. And when you have some time later in the day, later in the week, explore that. Ask yourself those questions. And you can also, do this with a friend, get support through someone else, and that they can be able to help you, to guide you through that process. So it's been so wonderful to share with you. I'd love to hear your experiences with this, and if it's been helpful. And I look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Thanks so much.